Hi, it's Michael Ankrah, founder of Hackner Education and the author of my brand new book, which is coming up, Learning Naturally. Today, I would like to talk to you about a report we just came out, and is the annual report which Ofsted, produces and presents to Parliament, which is basically their stewardship of education within the country. And it actually makes interesting reading, and actually it sort of gave me a lot of impetus in terms of my book, which is going to be coming up very soon in the new year. It should be early January. But I'm just going to pick on a few points because it's riddled with so many false assumptions. It's almost like we are being sold an illusion. And one of the things which I'm very, very certain of, and I'm quite strong about, is the fact that the leadership that Ofsted has provided for education in this country has been the wrong kind of leadership. And let's go back to just a simple analogy, and this is this. There is a very simple difference between religion and science. And when you talk of religion, you basically talking of a belief system. So if you buy into that belief, then you are part of that religion. The difference, though, for science is that science is based on evidence, so things that you can actually prove. And so science, if you like, the conflict between science and religion is the fact that one is based on faith and belief, whereas science is talking of where are the facts, where is the evidence. And it looks as if, the role of Ofsted and even education, formal education in general, is become more of a religion than science. And I'm going to break this down. If you read the report that has been presented by the Chief Inspector, there are certain buzzwords or phrases which have been thrown in the report, and everybody automatically assumes that they mean something good. And most of these things are quite hollow, or they are basically a mirage or an illusion, and I'm just going to pick on a few. There's a phrase, a good standard of education. What does that mean? Let me help you to think about this. Now, if you pay for a driving instructor to teach your child how to drive, or you pay a music teacher to teach your child how to play the piano or play the drums, the product, the substance of the education that you are buying is very clear, is unambiguous, and at the end of the exercise, you will be able to determine whether the exercise has been successful or not. So if it's a good standard of education, your child is going to come out as an excellent driver, drummer, pianist, or whatever the enterprise that you paid for. Similarly, if we talk of education, and one of the things I have addressed in my book, chapter 1, is why education. And I've gone to the root of it, the philosophy of education, because I strongly believe that once you have the premise wrong, if you carry out a fine research based on the wrong question, your outcome, the product, everything is going to be wrong because the start is wrong. So why do we go to school? And if you read the report, you actually begin to see why we have problems. Because you see, the inspector, the chief inspector, talks about a good standard of education, and all that they are basing those things on are Ofsted rating good or outstanding. Again, what does this mean? And all these things are a set of arbitrary boxes that people are taking, because you know what? Education, really, any good education is based on a solid curriculum. A solid curriculum which says that these are the expectations that the learner must be able to go through in terms of achieving mastery or knowledge. Let me give you an example. If you want to learn how to drive in this country, there is a curriculum for it. It's not called a curriculum, but there is one. It tells you, it gives you a clear indication of the area, the sort of the body of knowledge, Ofsted likes to use that you must know. Those things are tested in the theory. And then there is also a skill set that you must possess. Again, that is defined. So you know clearly as a customer of the system, you know the sort of skills that are required of you to be called a competent driver at a certain level. That is what a curriculum does. So in that specificity, there is no ambiguity about whether one is a good or not so good driver. When it comes to education though, this is like a confused, cauldron of jargons which mean nothing. Because Ofsted will come and rate one school as good or outstanding. And the criteria, whatever they are basing those judgments on, are just a bunch of boxes that they go to take. Oh yeah, we saw this tick, we saw this tick, we saw this tick. And if you want to see what I'm talking about, I'll put the links to the report in the details of this video, but read through the report and see whether the report actually talks in depth, in detail about the curriculum. Because the essence of any educational system is based around the curriculum. And again, in the same report, the chief inspector will talk about aiming to improve the standard of education. What standard? But I'm going to give you a clue, because you see, education, and one of the things I've spelled out in my book is this: education has always got a purpose. And I'm going to be coming back to this thing because before the introduction of formal education, we as human beings educated ourselves. It was just not called school. And we had an education. And basically, education is a process of trying to get the next generation, showing them how they can thrive in their world. By that, education has, if you like, the thought of what the world is and how the coming generation will be able to thrive in it. So to be successful or not successful is whether or not the people who are coming out of the system are actually thriving. If they are thriving, then the system is successful. If they are not, it is not. It is not about getting 90% of people achieving some meaningless grade, which means, does not translate into their lives. If we want to see whether education is being successful, look around or just Google the words graduate unemployment. And I just not too long ago, like 10 years ago or something, I know you could become a teaching assistant. I always say this. Without any qualification, nobody asks you. You just need to be a parent. So long as you come to the school and people know, the school knows that you're actually a parent, you're a decent person, you know how to work with children, you can be employed as a teaching assistant. Now, graduates are going for that job. It just tells you that whatever we are being sold as a good standard of education is actually not. And again, use the driving school experience, use the music teacher experience, use all those things to challenge anybody who says that we are raising standards because some matrix is showing that we have 94% of something or 95% of something. It means absolutely nothing. And then there was a funny statement, that the chief inspector made in the report. And again, this has been presented to Parliament, and I sort of read it and I smiled to myself. She made a statement: schools' exams should exist for the curriculum. Now, this is fundamentally wrong. But it goes to, if you like, illustrate the confusion or the lack of understanding of what a curriculum is, and also the wrong reasons or purposes for which assessments have been put to. Because exams are not there for the curriculum. The two are two completely different things, and let me explain. Exams, which comes under assessments, there are two types. You have the formative and the summative. Okay? Formative assessments just happen every time, moment by moment, day by day, hour by hour, periodic, as and often the teacher needs to know, whenever they need to know, okay, how is the learning progressing, they do that, and it doesn't have to be any structured thing. It will come from a question, from an observation, from something that the learner does, and the teacher will be able to take the feedback and then adjust, modify, or redesign the learning that is taking place. That's formative assessment. And then also there is a summative assessment. Now, really, the need for summative assessment is for two things. There are two main purposes. One is for transition. So, if say you are moving from secondary school to university, the summative assessment becomes a tool that is used to form a basis for selecting one person and not the other. So declaring winners and losers. So that's one. And then the second aspect, so if it's not an academic transition, then it's also for a selection for maybe employment or other positions. That is the role of summative assessment. So tests, certificates, and test results do not, in reality, have any significant implication. And that's why, some qualifications are diminishing in value, because eventually in the future, if this trend continues, one of the things I'm saying in my book is that certificates or degrees will become like a devalued currency. So like when a currency devalues, the nominal figure will go high, so you have like £10,000 as a note. But in terms of the value of that money, it's insignificant because demand and supply has overtaken, the currency. And that's what degrees are becoming. Because in the past, decades ago, there were not many graduates. So if you were a graduate, you had a very selected few group of people. And so you are in demand. That is not the case now. The amount of graduates produced by China on annual basis will surpass the whole population of the United Kingdom. Think about that. So if we are just thinking of certificates or degrees as the product or the substance of our education, then we are heading in the wrong direction. And like I said from the beginning, if the premise is wrong, it doesn't matter how much effort, how many inspections. All the inspections are looking for the wrong things. And that's the basics, and like I said, I will recommend my book to the chief inspector to read, because it's going to give a very different view of, understanding and looking at education. But the fact is this: the curriculum is not a generic document. There is a national curriculum which sets the national vision, and within that, and it's stated in the English national curriculum, every school must have a carefully designed curriculum, and there is a purpose for that. Because you see, no two schools will have the same cohort, and even if they do have similar demographics, backgrounds will be different. Human beings are not machines. We are not things. So you cannot apply efficiency models for human beings. Because if you have a national curriculum, you are assuming that there is a formula that if you take to any school, that will work, and that will be a failure. Because that's not how it works. Even for a teacher, you can be in the same classroom. One year you have one cohort of children, and their characteristics and behavior are completely different from the next set. And that is why the school curriculum should be a dynamic document that reflects the community, the cohort, and the resources that the school has in view of the national vision. And I think this is where there is a fundamental misunderstanding by Ofsted and all the policymakers. And I was just struck by the fact that such a document has been presented to the House of Commons. It's going to be put in the library. It's almost like a box which has been ticked. But if you go into the report, it underlines the problem that we face. And the question really is this: what sort of society do we anticipate? If we want to talk about the standard of education, we must think of the standard of education in light of the type of citizens that we expect. If we are looking to create a community, a society, a country, a world of creators, then our present education system is not the one, it's not doing that job. And one of the things I also say in my book is this, the whole paradigm of our present system is one which says that go to school, pay your dues, become a PhD holder, and look for the benevolence of somebody to employ you. It is not a system which says that what can you do? What would you be able to change? What can you do on your street? What problem do you identify and what can you do about it? Uniquely, that is you, that can be of service and value to you and to your community and the world. That is not the education system we have. And it's for this reason that everybody comes back blaming the system and asking, where did they go wrong? Because you see, when white supremacists or terrorists, try to exploit a certain section of the population, they target, and this is from a former member of the white supremacists that I listened to on telly. So they target people who are disappointed with the system. Now, what system are they talking about? We operate a system which says to you that go to school, study hard, get this, get that, and when you finish, you're going to get a good life. And guess what? There are many people who have done that. They've done everything that society asks of them. And in the end, they realize that everything that was said to them was a lie. And that is where despondency, people become, cynics, and they almost feel angry at the system, at the man, at somebody. And what they are really angry at is the fact that the system lied to them. So we need to fundamentally change this. And I think, for me, my biggest problem is that the people who are supposed to be running education in this country don't seem to have their fingers on the pulse. They are chasing the wrong things. They're chasing the wrong stickers and badges. She talks about curriculum every now and then, but I don't think she has a full grasp of what it means. So I'm going to try and just wrap up here because I could go on for hours. There's just a lot. But I'm going to record several videos in which I'm going to address several themes and sort of compare that to some of the chapters and topics that I've addressed in my book. So really, I'm going to really ask you, look forward to this book. In January, it should be coming out on Amazon and also on Ankrah.com. But really, thank you for listening, and I shall be with you shortly. My name is Michael Ankrah, author of Learning Naturally and founder of Ankrah Education. Thank you for watching.